I love what I teach because it is relevant to the world. Hi, welcome to Mr. Parker Meets. I'm Stewart Parker. Hi, welcome to Mr. Parker Meets. I'm Stewart Parker, Orange County Public Schools 2021 Teacher of the Year, and I'm super excited to start this series and introduce you to a lot of the great faculty and schools that we have here in Orange County. I am honored that the very first person that I get to interview is Melissa Forbes. She is the OJT at Universal Education Center. I actually got to meet Melissa way back in 2009 when she and I were both finalists for Orange County Teacher of the Year. She went on to win that year and then actually went on to be a finalist for the state. And then after that, our paths continued. During her master's work. She came to my class and we did a lot of work on using children's books in high school. And so I was really excited to get to work with her. And so she was one of the first people that I put on this list. So I am excited to welcome you to this, I guess, show that we have.
Oh, thank you so much. I am really delighted to be here. I can't stop grinning. It's just so good to see your face.
So the first thing is, tell me about how did you get into teaching? Because your path to education and teaching isn't the same as mine. I graduated, went straight into teaching, but you had a different path. So tell me about that.
Yeah, I did have a different path. I had always had the desire to be a teacher. And funny enough, a couple of my high school teachers talked me out of it. You know, they said, gosh, the hours are too long. There's just discipline challenges. Really, you're a great writer, explore that. And so for the first about 10 or 11 years of my career, I was a writer. I was a writer in lots of different capacities, but I always had that sort of teaching bug in the back of my mind, like, maybe I would really like to do this. And so I finally just eventually, took the plunge. I started at Apopka High School in 2002, and I will never forget the first day at school, the first class period I taught. I will just absolutely never forget it. I was there very much to, get everybody excited about my curriculum, which was English language arts. I loved to read, I loved to write, I loved literature. That was going to be my thing. And the kids walked in the door and I realized just in an instant that that's not what it was about at all. Although I was absolutely there to share that curriculum with them, I just fell in love with the kids and I realized, no, this is absolutely about meeting them where they. I don't know, I got the bug. I loved it from the first minute and I've pretty much never looked back.
Awesome.
Oh.
All right.
It froze.
Yeah, you're a little phrasing for me. Is that happening on your side?
Are you there?
I am. There we go.
Okay, I lost you for a second. We're back. Okay, carry on.
We'll keep going. Hey, because this is
sounds good.
2021, 2020, 2021. This happens all the time. Like in the middle of class, I'll be like, Mr. Parker, you're frozen. Like, oh, what do I do? How do I figure this out?
This is real life right here, right now.
Yeah, and I love it when they're like, in the chat, they're like, Mr. Parker, you're muted. I'm like, oh,
yep.
How long have I been muted?
Yes.
So yeah, you told us that's awesome how you do that. But now you're in a slightly different role. And when you reached out to me earlier because we have a mutual student that I taught that you have, and when I saw what the school was, it was really intriguing to me. So, and I think this is something that not a lot of people in Orange County knows. They don't know that it exists. So I was really excited to ask, tell us about your school. Tell us what you do at that school, what the students are like, what the teachers do, and just kind of the focus of it.
Yeah, I work at an amazing school. We like to say that we're like the best kept secret in Orange County, which is not intentional. We have lots of social media channels. We have had, we've been featured on the news and in the Orlando Sentinel, but it is still just not a well-known program. So my high school is actually located on property at Universal Studios. Like, just wrap your head around that for a second.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. We are Orange County Public Schools, but we are located at Universal Studios on property. And we've been here for 25 years, if you can imagine that, I know. And so our basic model is that our students attend school for 4 periods a day, either in the morning or in the afternoon. They take only core classes, And then all of their elective periods are spent working in the theme park. So I have students who work in food service, retail. I've had students in parking. They're all over the theme parks. They're both Universal Studios, Islands of Adventure, used to be also in some back of house positions, park services, everywhere you can imagine. And so our students actually get 3 elective credits per day for working in the theme park. Wow. And they get paid.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. And
wow.
So they absolutely love it. Many, many, many of them continue working for Universal Studios long past graduation. It's just a phenomenal program. Universal provides mentors for us. So every one of our students has a one-to-one mentor relationship with a professional who works at Universal, which is also just fantastic. Like when you think about an adult who's not a teacher, not a parent, not a boss, who meets with them weekly to just pour support into them, it's fantastic. And those relationships also often continue for years. And so, so what I do here is I teach a work experience class. And so what I'm doing in that class is preparing students for their actual on-the-job experience and then continuing to support them through that. Mm-hmm. And then I also function as a liaison between our school and the Universal Studios work managers, the actual student managers. And and that's my job. And I won the lottery. I mean, it is just fantastic. I worked some in hospitality before I actually got into education. So I feel like I get to kind of pull all that into this role, as well as just meet the needs of our kids. So our school, let me back up and say we're super tiny. Our maximum enrollment is 42 students.
Wow.
Wow is right. Yeah. So only juniors and seniors. Okay. Because they have to be at least 16 years old to work in the parks. And our kids are all students where, like, really the traditional high school experience, for a variety of reasons, just wasn't working for them. Mm-hmm. And there are truly a variety of reasons why, sort of your typical high school wasn't the best fit for them. So we fall in the alternative education umbrella of OCPS, which has a number of schools, but ours in particular is really well suited to students who just struggle with sitting in a classroom for that 6.5 hours a day. Some of them come here because they really need to work. Some of them are here because they get, like I mentioned, the traditional high school experience just really wasn't working well for them. A lot of our kids have pretty serious attendance problems. They're just not, for whatever reason, really connecting in a traditional high school. They come here though, and their attendance is perfect because they can't miss too many days or Universal Studios will actually terminate them. So we like to sort of kid around that we have the best attendance in all of Orange County at our school, but we run an average of 97% a day of attendance. I know, like what high school, right. But again, small classes, they're just in their classes for 4 hours a day. Then they go eat lunch right alongside other Universal Studios employees, and then they go to work.
Yeah.
And we provide transportation. I could go on. It's really a phenomenal opportunity for the kids who really are not succeeding in the typical high school. Yeah.
That's amazing. So these students, they're able to get a traditional high school diploma?
Yeah, traditional high school diploma. Their diploma is actually from their home high school.
Okay.
Just so that, it's kind of a recognized school name because, as you said earlier, who's ever heard of Universal Education Center? But yep, and so the student that we had in common, her high school diploma will say Winter Park High School. And that serves as their home high school. They can still graduate with their home high school. We do our own big ceremony here. Mm-hmm. Typically that Universal Studios hosts for us. Not this year, everything's a little weird this year. Right. But we do encourage them, like, walk with your home high school too. Like, go graduate with your friends from your school for sure.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So that's amazing to see that there's that opportunity for these kids to work. So what it's like probably tradition, like the 20 hours a week working, or
close. They work 15 hours a week. So
okay.
So their shift is 3 hours a day, and that's fine with Universal. They love it. They love having these students who are just in this regular either 8 to 11 or 12 to 3 spot. They're able to pick up additional weekend shifts if they want to. They'd have to provide their own transportation, as long as, I mean, there are a lot of labor laws we have to be careful of, we're in compliance of, especially, you know, some of our students are minors. And that's one of the things I do, is help just make sure that we're, you know, complying with all the rules that Florida has in place to keep kids safe, of course.
Right.
So yeah, but they work 15 hours a week. We provide Orange County buses for them, and actually including holidays. So if they decide that they want to work over winter break or over spring break on weekdays, we can get them a bus so they can just kind of. I know, and they just love it. They love making the money. They love working in a theme park, you know. So
well, who wouldn't? Like, your school is at Universal Studios, and then you go and you work at one of the major tourist destinations in the world. So that's amazing for their resumes as they move forward. That it's not. And do a lot of them go to work at Universal when they graduate, or is this something that just they continue on there?
A lot of them do. A lot of them continue on in their part-time role while they're, you know, pursuing their post-secondary studies. And then some of them have made a career out of working for Universal Studios. So we do have people who are still here in full-time positions and happy as can be. And we bring them into the school, of course, to talk to our current students.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Universal, like you said, Universal likes it because it gives them those consistent employees, and they are there almost every day of the week to work with them. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's my goal as their teacher. I like our managers and their coworkers within, you know, each of their locations where they work to not even know that they come to our school. You know, I want their professionalism and their ability at work to just speak for itself, so that none of the kids really feel like, yeah, I'm just here in the school to work program. No, I tell the kids all the time, I'm like, we want to set the bar super high and then jump over it, you know, so that really nobody, no guest who interacts with them or colleague who interacts with them ever thinks, oh, that's that student who goes to that school. Most of them never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a great opportunity for these students. Like, just to have that experience working and getting their degree on there. And I love that, how you said it meets the needs of those students that traditional high school may not be. We know, because we've been doing high school long enough, that traditional high schools aren't necessarily the fit for everyone. Yeah. And that's what I love about Orange County, is it provides so many different opportunities and options through the technical colleges and your school, to get those kids that may be like, hey, you know what, I don't necessarily want to do this, maybe something like that. We have a teacher at Winter Park whose son did the welding program and auto mechanic thing at one of the technical colleges, and graduated and was able to get a job at a local mechanic and making decent money, really good money. Right out of high school, because of the certification and everything that he got from the Orlando Technical College. So I think that providing those opportunities is super important for the kids. Are there any requirements that they must meet before they can come into your school?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we have guidance counselors, you know, that are assigned to each of the schools. In fact, it's I think one of the big pros of our program is that our students see their guidance counselor here at least once a week. So our guidance counselor, is only assigned to 3 sites. And so students can have frequent interaction with their guidance counselors. Again, that's different than in a traditional high school. And and to go back to that, you know, a traditional high school is perfect for so many kids. You know, a lot of kids want band and soccer and clubs. And because we're so tiny, I mean, we literally only have 4 classrooms plus a computer lab in our school. So we don't have a lot of extracurricular activities that we can offer. We're making some strides in that. But yeah, there are some schools that love that. We had a student who started here the summer before last, and she realized really quickly that no, she was really missing all the extracurricular and electives that she could do in a traditional high school setting. So for some kids, yes, it's dead on. So our kids have to make sure that they're on track for graduation, because we only have 4 periods available in a day to kind of play with, if you will. We have to make sure that anybody who comes in, whether they come in as a junior or a senior, that we're not going to slow down their process for graduating. Okay. So that's really the main thing, is does the student have enough credits, and have they met, their science, their digital infotech? Have they met all of the things that they need to do so that they can still graduate on time with us? Okay. They don't necessarily have to have passed FSA, because we do have a math coach, we have a reading coach, so we have professionals here to help them, meet those milestones for graduation. But they do have to have kind of a minimum number of requirements, of those electives or graduation requirements rather, in order to start with us. So
they have at least part of the 24 credits they need to graduate.
A big chunk, honestly.
Minimum, big chunk of them done.
A big chunk of them done. Now, we do have students who will sometimes apply to our school and they don't have quite enough yet. So we have a couple of sister schools within alternative education, and we'll kind of make an arrangement and say, hey, you might want to consider, Project Compass for a year, like as a junior, work really hard on getting all those credits in, and then talk to us about coming in as a senior. Or, hey, how about Simon Youth Academy, where you can actually attend classes all day long and you can get your work experience in the evenings or weekends, work on getting those credits where they need to be, and as soon as you've hit a number that's going to work for our school, come on in. So so we have a nice relationship with those other schools.
Well, that's really cool that that flexibility is still there for the kids who really want this and see it as a viable option for them. I love this. So you've been in education a long time, just like I have, and you've been around a lot of teachers and you've done a lot of awesome things in there. So kind of shifting from your school to the just classroom and stuff like that, what are some great things that you like to do with your students to kind of connect with them? Because we're real big on the social emotional learning, and I really think a lot of that comes from the connection that the teacher can create with their students. And so what are some things that you've done at your current position and then in your previous ones that have really helped you foster relationships with the students?
With kids, yeah. So it's kind of funny. One of the things that I do right now that my students really love, that completely surprised me, is it seems really basic as I describe this, but stay with me. So when I first started here, I actually started mid-year in the school, and a colleague handed me a Universal Studios map and a list of where our students work and said, go start finding them. And I was like, right? So my dad used to tease me that I could get lost in a shoebox. I was terrified. So what I would do is I would start going out and, follow the map, and voila, now I'm in Harry Potter, I'm in Leaky Cauldron, and look, I found this student. So I would just take my phone out and just quick snap a picture of them. And then I would throw it up the next day in the work experience class, and with a little thing that said look who I found. And that has evolved into such a teaching tool in my classroom. Since part of my role is really to make sure that students are succeeding in their job, now I just do this regularly. I'm frequently in the parks, obviously observing them and coaching them, but I'm quick to just pull out my phone and take pictures of them as well as other Universal Studios team members. And I will put those up, on my smart board and go, okay, guys, what are we looking at here? What do you see that's going really well? Let's talk about safety today. Maybe we're doing a unit on safety. So what do you see that's going well in these pictures? Or maybe I'm talking with them about improving customer service. And so let's take a look at some interactions between team members and guests. Generally, our kids are the ones that I have up there. They always laugh. They always, they start out, it's like it brings their barriers down a little bit or something, and they just kind of, oh, look at Jason, or whoever it is. And then we'll just start looking and talking about these pictures. Sometimes managers will reach out to me similarly and say, hey, I'm really trying to get my whole team to do a better job of just smiling at guests. And so another strategy that I've used is to offer just little tiny rewards. Like I did this I Caught You Smiling project. And if I caught one of our students, one of our team members, smiling and interacting with colleagues or guests, then, we do a little $5 Starbucks gift card, although I would make them go with me. But honestly, so we can spend a little bit more time together. Yeah. Right. So, here's this gift card. Hey, let's go together. Let's go downstairs. It's on campus.
I'm about to say, it's not that far, right?
So, let's go get your Venti Frappuccino and just sort of talk about how your day is going, whether that's work or anything. And so those have been a couple of the tools that have been really relevant to their actual work experience, but at the same time, I think building a relationship with them.
That is awesome. I love that. And it's very specific to what you're doing and for your students, and that makes them feel that connection, valuing them for it. And I love the finding something good type aspect to that, because and kind of showcasing, because I'm sure there's plenty of times who knows, maybe plenty, but often you go and you see something that you could coach them on to be better.
Yeah.
And so using that as a snapshot of, hey, look what they were doing. They were doing something good, or caught them smiling and stuff like that. Just, that gets that positivity in there, and they feel safer when you come to them with your concerns and be like, hey, I saw yesterday when you were interacting with this guest or with the other person. I love that. And I think in the classroom, just in general, praising the students frequently allows you to have some of those harder conversations that we want to have when we're analyzing some of their work and saying, hey, you need to improve this. They don't feel attacked because they feel that we're very much, we're on their side.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know anything about basketball really, but that phrase came to mind, like, I'm in their court. Right? Like I want them to feel like I'm on their side. They get so nervous when when they're first hired and I tell them, like, hey, I'm actually going to watch you work. And they're like, oh, no, and they gasp and they get so concerned about it. But I try to just be there so often in a positive way that it truly doesn't rattle them when they see me. If anything, I almost want them to feel a sense of, oh, let me show off a little bit. My teacher's here. Like that's my goal to try to get to with them.
Yeah, and they must appreciate the feedback you give them because of the two-way street. They realize they can talk to you and they have that conversation with you.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's so cool to be able to see your students outside working and seeing that seeing them in a different light. I think that's why I always try to go to the different events. It's not the same, but like the sports and the chorus and the drama and anything that the kid asks me to come to, if I'm able to go, I will go and at least watch one type of event, because then they're like, oh, he cares. He's super. And if I'm not gonna, I always remember if I go to the sporting events, at least take a picture of me at the game, and I'll send them like a remind text or something like that to be like, hey, I saw you. Good job. I'm so proud of you. Just so they have that sense of my teacher's on my side and I'm going to trust them, but I'm also going to listen when they make some suggestions and give on my suggestions on how you can write better or how you can, analyze documents differently, and they'll be more willing to listen.
Yeah.
And because my not criticism, but my critiques aren't coming out of a place where they think it's like, oh, I'm going to lord it over you and I'm going to, this is Mr. Parker just with his red pen marking everything wrong. They're like, Mr. Parker cares about me, so I want to do better for him. And I'm sure that's said they want to show off for you because like, oh, Mrs. Forbes here, so we're gonna do better.
Yeah, you're 100% right. My mentor teacher, the very first year I started teaching back at Apopka, Sue Beecham, she told me, and all the things you're saying, 100% agree. There's an extra benefit. She said, Melissa, if you're ever having a problem with the student classroom management wise, like their behavior is off, find out what sport they play, show up at a game, and the very next class, oh, I saw you yesterday, I saw you, or find out where they work, find out what club they're in, and just become a little bit more present and visible. And then when they know that you care, boom, now they trust you. They know you're like in their court, like I said before, and they'll just work so hard for you. It's amazing. I mean, and also it feels good. Let's just call it. Like, it just feels really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why we get into teaching to interact positively with the kids. We don't want to be I don't know anybody who's like, I'm going to be the harsh disciplinarian and no kids are going to like me and whatever. Like it's sad, but I want these kids to, I would say I don't necessarily want to be friendly type thing, because that's kind of you're 14, I'm 41, like that's not appropriate, but I want to have a relationship where you trust me and we can have those talks.
Yep, I totally agree.
All right, so we have I have one more question, and this is one I'm looking forward to. It's absolutely nothing to do with our schools or teaching, but pick something, maybe a couple of things, something that maybe you are currently reading or watching, like a movie, TV show, something like that, or music that you're choosing to listen to these days. Because I know the pandemic, and I'm sure you being an English teacher at heart and a writer that you probably have a list of books that you have read over the past year. What pick one or two that you can share? Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll start with something that I've actually been watching lately that truly has absolutely nothing to do with education.
I love it.
But I'm finding that, it's been a tough year, right? Like we've all had a tough year. And so I've been looking for more ways to do things that really kind of help refill my own bucket, so that I can kind of pour back out again in the classroom. Listen, I've gotten completely obsessed by this television show that's called This Farming Life. I live in Orlando. I was born in Los Angeles. I have this much experience with farming. I am just obsessed. It's like lambing season right now in this show. I absolutely love it. It's through BBC. We get it through BritBox, which is one of the subscription services. I will sometimes be driving home and I'm like, oh, I get to see how that cow is doing. I have no explanation for this, but it just makes me feel good, right? I get out of my head for a while. And I just love it. I do want to tell you about a book I'm reading that has been incredibly impactful for me. So, and perhaps you've heard of it. This is called Caste, and it's by Isabel Wilkerson.
Oh.
Okay, so as a social studies teacher, I think you're particularly going to appreciate this title. So in this book, the author proposes that the African-American experience in this country, beginning with slavery hundreds of years ago up to our modern present day time, functions very much like a caste system that is every bit as insidious as the one that is in India, as well as really the caste system that existed in World War II Germany and the years leading up to World War II Germany. She makes a really compelling case. She's a fantastically talented writer. The book won the Pulitzer Prize.
Awesome.
And I cannot recommend it highly enough. It is called Caste. And then the subtitle is The Origins of Our Discontent. Great subtitle, right?
Oh.
By Isabel Wilkerson. I truly cannot recommend it highly enough. I've been telling everybody I know, you've got to read this book.
Sweet. That sounds great. That's like right up my alley.
Exactly.
My class and what I've kind of been looking at over really for me the past 2 or 3 years. It started when we started using culturally responsive teaching and the brain and our new teacher orientation, and just kind of looking at minority students and how we are impacting them and teaching, and how our really unknowing, our implicit bias and things like that have really functioned and the structure of our class. And so that's another one to add to my list. I think that'd be great. Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, hey, I am so excited that you were the first person I got to talk to. So thank you so much for making time for this. It's been really fun to catch up. And I absolutely loved hearing about Universal Education Center and what y'all do for your students and for their future, and how you're a different school in the district that really needs to kind of be known. And I think it's awesome that you exist to meet the needs of those students that traditional high school may not fit, but really want to do well and want to have success in their lives. So thank you so much for taking your time to meet with me.
Oh, totally my pleasure. This has been a lot of fun, Stewart.
Perfect. All right. And thank you all for watching us.
Bye.